Hi, love, light, and blessings. This is Shamanic Adwak Priestess here. And today's video is going to be a very deep chat, so a spirit chat that I feel is much needed. And so I ask that you look at this with an open mind, and let's get into it. Also, if you haven't caught last Monday's video, I am doing deck reviews. So they're not like walkthroughs, but actual decks that I work with, and I'll give you my honest opinions, whether I like them, I don't like them, why I like them, and my ratings. So if you haven't caught that yet, please make sure to look at that video, and please leave a comment below and a like. That way we raise the algorithm and more people can have access to my videos. That is how my channel can grow, and that's how you can support my channel, and it's free. So make sure you check that out if you haven't checked that out already. This week's video is going to be about decolonizing your spirituality and colonization and spirituality. Okay. All right. So I have a series on my channel for the second level members, so intermediate and witches level. They have access to my videos, and I'm going through the Orisha series. There's going to be more in depth than the one I did here on my main channel. And we're going to be talking about their lore, their origin stories, very important stories. So, if you will, religious texts, the oral traditions that were traditionally passed down before colonization, those stories. So if you're interested in that, feel free to join the members, because I'm literally already, like, as we speak, downloading the second installment to that. All right. So getting back to what we're talking about, the membership is on the join there. You see join, click on it, and it takes you to the three things. Okay. So we're just going to specifically talk about, again, colonization and how to decolonize your spirituality. If you want deeper knowledge, again, of the Orishas, things like that, memberships and classes. Okay. All right. So getting back to what I was talking about. First point that I want to make. Stop asking marginalized people for free services, free mentorship. Okay. When you do that, you are part of the problem. Okay, whether you are part of the marginalized people themselves or you're not, and you're of European descent, whichever spectrum you're in. Okay, traditionally, these are closed tradition. A closed tradition is a tradition that's passed down orally from generation to generation. This is why we say that any religion that's a descendant or made of or inspired by or resembles and has aspects of Ifa. So we're talking about also Santeria. We're talking about African religions in Africa, such as Voodoo, that has, in Haiti, we call it Haitian Voodoo, right? Whether it has other aspects of other things, traditionally it comes back to Africa. And therefore, these are closed traditions that are only meant to be passed down from initiate to apprentice, from family member to family member. Okay, so in a closed tradition, they don't really let anybody outside of those religions enter unless the initiate is okay with, and there's a transaction that's made between teacher and student. Some type of exchange is made, because you have to respect the work, the energy, and the person that you're being mentored by, what their family had to go through in order to preserve these secrets. That is something that's becoming so lost in today's society, where we have botanicas that are selling Buddha statues that have nothing to do with what the original thing of botanicas were, where you have this mixed moshing of things, where you have Buddha statues and Orisha statues together, where people are saying they're gods, where people are whitewashing them, where people are selling white statues and say that's Oshun and Yambaya. In today's society, where you have meditations and they're all love and light and everything is wonderful and sandbag work is evil and all these things, all this misinformation and how to balance your chakras with Oshun and all these things, right? Doing affirmations with the Orishas. Like, what are you talking about? So, this is where that stems from. The constant misinformation. So it is up to the initiate or up to the elder to protect these secrets, right? So nothing in life is free. These are ancient traditional practices. And someone recently asked me, it happens to me all the time, but this was kind of the inspiration of this talk. Someone recently asked me, okay, hey, all these things about La Madama, and then when I explained to them, these are close traditions, and if you're wanting to know about La Madama, I have classes in the fall. I teach some things on membership, but I don't teach them openly on YouTube like that. LOL. And I get a lot of people are disrespectful. Not all, but a lot of people. And it's because we're in this society where some people feel like they're entitled to certain things, and because the spirituality should be free and we should be just open with it. When you do that and when you don't protect that, it becomes less valuable, and it stops being what it traditionally was, because then people start adding things to it and it loses its essence, right? It loses its essence and the disrespect starts. These secrets are valuable for a reason, and they're a secret for a reason. There's many secret societies throughout history, and the reason why they're so powerful is because of the secrecy. Okay, all right, stop trying to fit our spirituality with rules that do not pertain to us. The threefold law does not pertain traditionally to the Ifa religions, to Taino spirituality, and these religions of marginalized people, these close traditions. That is not a thing that pertains to when it comes to these specific paths that I'm talking about. Wicca is not the same as Santeria. And you have people that are like, I'm Wiccan and I work with, those are not the religions they're from. So when you start to add things that has nothing to do with those spirits, and don't want to study with anybody, don't want to research anything and get accurate research, you're actually disrespecting the very spirits that you're saying that you aren't honoring. So it becomes a disrespect. So part of colonizing something is to put things and fit things that does not originally pertain to the religion. Okay, there is a difference from one-on-one mentorship, whether it's taking classes in a small group, than reading a book. Because again, a book could be written by anybody. When someone's mentoring you one-on-one or in a small group, that is a completely different experience. You get to ask from that person, you get to learn from that person, and then you can go on and read books, because then you know the foundational things, so you can decipher on your own what's factual and what's bullshit. Also, ask yourself, what is really your purpose of wanting to practice? For some people, it's a genuine, I'm of African descent and I want to practice the religion of my ancestors. And I think that is a beautiful thing. There is no greater reward for me than a descendant of the diaspora wanting to reconnect with their roots. I think that is beautiful. I think that is a way of taking back your power and owning your birthright. And I love mentoring people like that. And I love when people feel that way and they go and they invest their time, their money, and they do it and they love it, and then they can go on to read books. And you know what's nice about that too? When you get that passed down knowledge, then you can pass it to future generations, and the religions don't die with the elders. So I think that is beautiful. There are people that are outside of these ancestors. It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes people outside the culture may be called into it. As long as they're doing it in a respectful way and going to a marginalized person for that mentorship, I'm fine with that. As long as they've done their due diligence, can't even talk this morning, and have made peace with their ancestors. Because you have to work with your ancestors too. Make peace with that part of the history. And then be able to heal. Okay? Fine. Because there's a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. If you're someone outside the culture that's willing to invest and be respectful, but also not demand free services, then you're appreciating a culture. If you're willing to do things the way they're done traditionally, to respect black spirits, because they're black spirits. Okay. But if you're doing it only for ego, for money, what's going to happen is you're going to fall victim, and you're not really a victim if you're trying to exploit people, okay, to these charlatans. You're not going to get the real spirits. You're going to have something called trickster spirits who are pretending to be those spirits, and your life is going to be a chaotic mess. And after a while, the money goes away, and you have a downfall. Thus, the woman who tried to conjure up a voodoo spirit didn't care that she wasn't initiated into anything and died, because that was not Papa Legba, that was not Barom Sandi, that was a trickster spirit. That is part of colonization. Now you died. You don't even know what the hell you conjured up in the first place. So it's a danger to yourself and others. These are ancient energies that need to be respected like any other path or tradition. Okay. All right, so get back to that. Examine the purpose of why you're wanting to practice. Some people literally go into the mindset as if it is owed to them, you know, and I've seen it with people outside of the culture. This is nothing against anybody. They'll be like, no, you need to tell me because everything is one source. I've seen people be like, I could practice whatever I want. I don't care if I'm not of African descent or I'm not from the diaspora or none of these things. Like, we could just do whatever we want. We don't need to listen to brown people. And like I said, you reap what you sow because it will come back to you. So examine why you're trying to learn these things. When you tell brown and black people that we don't have a right in the say of our ancient traditions, that we don't have the right to quote unquote gatekeep, because I've been accused of that by the non-BIPOC community, not all but some, you are being a colonizer. You are colonizing a marginalized spirituality. So make sure you're examining within yourself, right? What is your intentions? And it's not everybody, but you do have people with that mindset as if this is owed to them and that we as the marginalized people have to share with them because they said so. And that's not how that works. Okay? So come to it with humility, respect. Learn the history of the practices. This is why it's important to learn the history, especially when we're talking about Western culture, of the diaspora and what the ancestors had to do in order to keep these traditions alive. When you learn that history, right? When you learn history, right? Then you can change things versus not knowing one's history or not knowing the history of marginalized people. When we don't know that history, we are doomed to repeat it. That is literally happening in today's society. Because they're not allowing people to learn true black history, true indigenous history, and the things and the price and the bodies and the blood that have literally made America, since we're not allowed to teach that in school anymore, right? And we're teaching a whitewashed, horrible history where we venerate Christopher Columbus, who was a colonizer, right? That's why we are repeating that history with voter restrictions of our body rights, and all the things that are happening. You know, even same-sex marriages are in danger. Like, it's so many things. Okay? And it's because some people are not learning their history. And so when we don't learn our history, we're doomed to repeat it. If we do not learn our history and spirituality, especially with marginalized religions, it makes it easier to colonize or be colonized. So we got to be woke, even in spirituality. Okay? Because our spirituality is also political. It's a survival. The origins of these religions were because that's how our ancestors survived the most atrocious, one of the most atrocious parts of our history, the genocide of brown and black bodies. Okay? These religions help us to overcome that and free our minds and free our spirits through a very dark part of history throughout the world, because this was a worldwide problem. Okay. Be willing to invest the time and money and resources. A year and a day is traditionally how long it takes to be mentored. This is why I said I'm not taking on godchildren right now, because I have to dedicate a year and a day to get my godchild ready for that initiation. Because I'm going to do my initiations as traditional as possible. Because that's how I am. I'm a traditionalist. That's the way I roll. So, when I'm called to do that, I will do that. But I'm going to do it in the right way with people that I know that I can have a lifelong connection with, because they become family. And I want someone that's going to, or someone's, there's going to, when I'm too old, when I'm done, I know there'll be people in the future that can take that calling and spread this beautiful religions and heal, okay, the spiritual community. All people, even people who have I was born into certain things, but I still had to invest money for my godparent. That's the common misconception that people have. In order for me to do what I do on a full-time basis and teach what I teach, I invested just like everybody else for my initiations and all the things. I did not exchange anything. I paid with munties, with coins. Okay, money was paid. Just because my mother did something, she had to pay too, and her mother and so on. We still had to pay. Okay, I did not learn this for free. Okay. Understand, again, that none of us are entitled to it. The spirits call us, and then it's our due diligence to do the research, to ask them for the mentor to come. I literally specifically asked for my mentors to come because I was kind of going with random people, not good experiences. And then I learned to be patient. Your right teacher will come along. When something is meant for you, it will happen, and it's always divine timing. So make sure that if you really feel called to this and these spirits are calling to you, pray, and I'm telling you, your mentor and your teacher will come. The finances for this investment will come. It will happen for you. Because when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Ask and you shall receive. I'm telling you. Again, closed traditions are passed down directly by personal contact, from parent to child, from mentor to student, from devotee to apprentice. Okay? That is what a closed tradition is. It's not learned through books. It's learned through word of mouth. That's where the patakis, the itans, these stories come from. That teach you how to work with these spirits in a more elevated way. It's passed down. And I'm making these stories available now on my intermediate, at the second and third level, because I feel like they're important. These stories are dying out. People are just buying statues and don't even know anything about the spirits. I want you guys to be empowered and to know, you know. Cultural appropriation is an inappropriate or unknowledgeable way of taking elements of a culture, of a marginalized culture, and stealing the identities of marginalized cultures. Okay, this is something that is happening, especially with marginalized religions. And if we don't wake up, they're going to lose their essence. And all I can do, I'm not going to go on people's videos and sit here and scream. And I teach people. I took it upon myself to mentor people. I took it upon myself to make memberships. I'm doing my part. So it's a calling for the elders too. Find a way to do your part, because these stories are going to die with us. Okay? You can't just keep all the knowledge and then people that, you know what I'm saying? So it's okay to vet people and make sure they have good intentions, but it's also important to pass it down, you know? All right. So a lot of times you'll hear terms that are not original to these religions, like God and goddesses. I get really deep into memberships with that. We do have a God in Yoruba religions. We do have a supreme being, okay? But they're not the ones that you guys are calling God and goddesses, okay? It's the whole thing. So when we use colonized terms, right, we are acquiring habits and attitudes of the predominant culture, the culture that's in power. We are trying to fit that aesthetics. Some people feel pressure to share traditional hoodoo spells on YouTube, and they'll just do the spells because they feel pressured. That is part of colonization sometimes too, where like, oh, nobody's gonna watch my videos because I'm a brown person, and if I don't share, if I don't when I first started this channel, tried to be aesthetically pleasing, and I assimilated, and then after that first year I was like, hell to the nah, and then I kind of started going in my own direction. Okay, and then my channel grew, and my business, everything went the way it's supposed to, because I was being who I am. I was being myself. Okay, I was being myself. Okay, then I'm going to end this video. Orisha, the definition of Orisha: a supernatural entity, deity, spirits of nature. Okay, we do have a supreme being. We do have a God. Okay, but that's not an Orisha. An Orisha and a God in the traditions are different. Loa is not the same as an Orisha. A Loa is from a different tribe or different tribes. They're animistic nature spirits. Loas are ancestors. Ancestors. Each of these spirits have a god. Okay? But both of these types of spirits are sent by the Supreme Being, aka Creator God. So traditionally, the religions are monotheistic. When you're polytheistic, you believe in God, goddesses, multiple gods. We have a God that comes from Africa, that you can see yourself in. In indigenous religions, we have a God that is indigenous, that we could see ourselves in. But we have semis, and a semi is not the same thing as the Supreme Being. An Orisha and a Loa are not the same thing as the Supreme Being. So when we start to use the correct terms that our ancestors used, then we become decolonized. We start to take back our spirituality. We become empowered when we take the time to learn the stories of the Orishas, the stories of the Loas. We then venerate them. These stories don't get lost in the mid-Atlantic slave trade, but we start to reclaim our birthrights. And when we start to reclaim our birthrights, we learn the secrets that our ancestors knew. And that secret was, there is power in black and brown magic. Black magic is not evil, but it is a magic that's practiced by people of black descent. Black magic is beautiful. Brown magic is beautiful. It is our birthright. It is our power. When we start to reclaim our traditions and do it in a way that we decolonize our minds, we start to heal the inequalities. We start to heal that sense of not knowing where we came from. Because unlike some of our counterparts, many of us marginalized people that are descendant of slavery, of enslaved ancestors, our history was taken from us. And by reconnecting with the ATRs, or indigenous spirituality of Native people or African indigenous people, we start to reconnect with the kings and queens that came before us. We start to reconnect with our enslaved ancestors that give us the knowledge of their survival. We start to have pride in our melanin. We start to heal the illnesses, the sickness, because our ancestors knew the medicine. They had a connection with the medicines that healed us, the medicines that helped marginalized bodies when they were assaulted, when your body was not your own. It was the Madama spirits that knew the herbs and medicine that helped us to have the rights for our reproductive health, because they knew how to end a pregnancy if that's what the person wanted. Our ancestors knew how to heal ailments with herbs. They had a connection with earth. They knew how to connect with the plants because they knew that the orishas and loas are nature spirits, that they lived within these plants. And certain spirits have certain plants. They knew the earth medicines. They knew their songs. They knew that the spirits were outside of altars and shrines and statues, but they went into nature and connected with these African indigenous ancestors, and we talked and we communed. We didn't care how our altars and shrine looked because it was about having that real connection with our ancestors and our spirits, and that is getting lost. And it is time that we decolonize our practices. It is time that we gatekeep. And we say, hey, if you're going to practice, don't colonize our spirits. Don't sell statues that look European-centric when these are black spirits from Africa. Yemaya and Oshun are African. They have melanin. This is your birthright. Let's reclaim our power. Black and brown magic is powerful. And the spirits are calling us now more than ever. As they're marginalizing us, as we are repeating the history, as we're continuing to be oppressed. It is our magic, it is our power that gives us that fire. It is Ogun, it is Danto that marches with us. These war spirits, these Congo spirits, these Congo ancestors that have fire to fight against oppression. The Dahomey tribe that had an elite tribe of female warriors that fought against colonizers. Those spirits live within us. And it is up to us to learn, to sit at the foot of our elders, to give that respect, to decolonize our spirituality, and to take back our power. The time is now. And that's what the spirits are saying. The time is now. Learn. Humble. There is power in our spirituality. We do not need to assimilate. We do not need to assimilate. Know who you are. Connect. Know and learn. And you will be powerful. We need to unite our communities with our people, with our allies. We need to go into this now. So if you're going to be an ally that's called into these traditions, let's do it in a respectful way. If you are a descendant of these traditions, let's do it in a respectful way. Let's learn about these spirits and give them the respect that they deserve, just like any other religion that's practiced. Much love, much light, and much blessings. I love you all. In love I gave this video. In love and peace I leave all of you. Hopefully this video you like, please subscribe, please comment below. And until the next video, guys, much love, much light. Bye, guys.